Icon here, back at it with another video. Now, I haven't been behind the camera in a while, so it's gonna be a weird one. Not really weird at all, but whatever. The PS5 is here, finally. Get to talk about it. It's been here, I've had it for a couple of weeks now, but I've been just getting some footage together for my review for it. The next console generation is here. We are now in the era of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, which is insane if you really think about it. But we're here finally. It was so hard to get my hands on a PS5. That's why, another reason why this review has taken so long to come out. But I finally got my hands on it, but you guys don't know my struggle. It was real, alright? I had to fight, I had to claw my way through Walmart to get one, but finally got one. But enough of that. Let's talk about the actual console itself. So I wanted to do an unboxing video to show this thing off initially, but I figured everyone on the internet's already done one of those, so there's really no point for me to do one on my end. But well, here the console is right here. This is what the PS5 looks like. If you haven't seen it already, this is it. And yes, the rumors are true. This thing is gigantic. I thought everybody was exaggerating initially, but when I finally got my hands on it and saw it, I was like, this thing is huge, like scary big. And a lot of that, Sony said, has to do with making room for ventilation for the system. And that makes sense because the PS4 sounded like a fighter jet when you would turn it on and when you'd play certain games. So having room for ventilation in this new console is pretty good. Now, I haven't experienced any loud fans blowing while I've been playing games. So I have to say that their plan worked. The ventilation on the system is pretty good. The fans are running on all full power. So I do appreciate that for sure. First positive thing I want to say about the console is that, yeah, the fans work and it doesn't blow super loud when you're playing games. But yeah, I've decided to lay the console on its side so it'll fit in my entertainment center rather than have it as an eyesore, like standing up anywhere else, you know? The black piece of the system is something of a fingerprint magnet, so you'll want to avoid touching that as much as possible if you're a stickler for those sort of things. And on the back of the system, you have a slot for your Infinity power cord, your HDMI cord, your Ethernet cable, and two USB-A ports. On the front, you have a USB-A port and a USB-C port, the power button, and an eject button for your disc if you do have the disc drive version of this console, which I do. Talking about the design of this thing a little bit, you've all seen the memes, you know. This thing looks like a router. It looks like one of those really tall fans that blow in the living rooms. It looks like Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, yeah, I mean, the design is a little wonky. It's a little different looking. But Sony wanted to make a statement piece, I think. And it's safe to say that they did that. Again, a lot of the design has to do with the ventilation and making sure that it doesn't sound really loud when the fans are blowing. So again, they achieved that. And I think the design is different. I wouldn't personally say I like it, but I don't hate it, if that makes sense. Like, it's not bad looking, but at the same time, it's not like the PS4, which is like really sleek and a classic design that you'll... Well, I guess I can't say that you won't remember the PS5 for years to come because the jokes will come for years, and yeah, it's very different looking, but it gets the job done, so I guess that's all that really matters here. In terms of specs, I have to say this is the area that I'm least educated in, and I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I'm just going to throw it up on the screen right here. Here are the specs for you guys. You can just look those over and talk amongst yourselves and be like, ooh, wow, these are great specs. I don't know, you know. All I know is that in terms of software, this thing is running an SSD inside of it. When the previous console ran solid state, not a solid, that is an SSD. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Previous console had a hard drive in it, so the SSD makes the console a little faster, is what I understand. And that's a good thing because load times with games are incredible. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but the software in here is next gen. It's the future, and we've got some really powerful stuff in here is what I'm understanding. And they made a bunch of videos that went into depth about this initially, like way before the console went out, and everybody had good things to say about it. And from what I've seen and what I've played, it's really made a difference in the play experience, and that's really what matters the most, the play experience, which we're also going to talk about in just a little bit. Now, every time I would load into a game like Miles Morales, I was shocked by how fast I would get in and just start playing. And I'm sure everyone is used to loading up a game and picking up your phone and starting to go through Twitter or text or something like that, but you don't have time to do that with this thing. It's straight to the game, and it's taking some getting used to for me, but that's something that I really like about this thing. Like, you're here to play the game in the first place, not go through your phone in the meantime. That was just something that you got used to because of the load times, but there's practically no load times here. The games take maybe like 5 seconds max to get into from the games that I've played so far. Games like Avengers that are still optimized for the PS4, those games still take a good while to get into. That game's loading time was horrendous in the first place, but games like Miles Morales, Bugsnax I played, I jumped into a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima, and that one didn't take as long as it did. Like, it's just insane how fast this thing moves, and it's really incredible to experience. Something I want to get into a little bit is the UI. Now, I have mixed feelings about it. It's a mixed bag for me. I think it is better to look at without a doubt, but it is a little more confusing than the PS4 UI initially was. Now, everything is hidden here. Like, I guess they wanted a clean layout, a clean setup, a clean UI for things to just look like a straight line and kind of just be a little more streamlined, just the things that they consider the main things for you to look at. But at the same time, it's kind of just like, I want everything to be where I can see it at all times. Like, I have to dig through folders to find things like how many hours I played in a game. And yes, that's a feature they have now, which is, I love that, because I used to pray for that feature, because I'm someone that really keeps track of how much time that they've put into a game. But I have to dig through folders to find that. Like, I had to really search, and I didn't even know that was a thing until I went to like my games, which are kind of hidden, and finding your friends who's online, kind of hidden. Like, finding the media after you've taken pictures, pretty hidden. Like, you have to really dig through folders for that and figure it out. And there's multiple ways to get to those different things, but like I said, they're kind of hard to navigate through, and I'm not a big fan of that, but I will say that everything does look cleaner and the layout is a little better looking overall, so I can't really complain on that front. Now, all this sounds fine and dandy pretty much, like all these things I'm saying, but at the end of the day, you buy a game console because you want to do one thing and one thing only, and that's watch The Mandalorian on your PS5. No, you buy a game console because you want to play games on it, obviously. So how do the games work? How do the games run on this thing? Pretty damn well, if I'm being honest. Pretty good. Like, really good. Like, amazingly good. And I played a bunch of different games. I played some PS4 games, like I said initially. Avengers. I played Genshin Impact. I played PS5 games, Miles Morales, Bugsnax, Ghost of Tsushima, PS4 game. And the quality never dipped at all. This console now has performance and fidelity mode, and I came from having a base PS4. So I didn't have the PS4 Pro, which already had those things on it. So I've never got to experience that before. But experiencing it here was incredible. Like, getting to choose between performance and fidelity. I stick with performance because I kind of like how that looks a little better for me versus the fidelity mode. It has a better feel to it, but it doesn't look as good for me personally. But the quality in games never dipped at all. You can see everything in each game, and it's like a blessed experience, to be completely honest. Like, everything feels wonderful, and playing these games, you feel like you are in the next generation without a doubt. Like, nothing stutters, nothing really dips out of frames or anything like that. And on top of that, the gaming experience is amplified even more by the DualSense controller, which is a masterpiece of a controller, if I do say so myself. Now, the DualShock 4 was never my favorite controller, but it got the job done most of the time. However, the DualSense is miles ahead. When it comes to the feel, when it comes to the way it feels in your hands, it definitely is heftier for sure and has more weight to it. And that probably has to do with the motors that are running through it. As well as that, there's all this talk about the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback you feel when you're playing games. And the haptics are essentially a more refined and lifelike version of the vibration you feel in the DualShock. And as gimmicky as it all sounds on paper, I'm buying it. And it works all really well. Mostly when playing games like Astro's Playroom, which was designed to kind of showcase that controller in the first place, that's when it works the most. But at the same time, I've seen it work well in other games. Like in my Miles Morales review, it worked when you're swinging. You could feel a little tension in the triggers. In my Bugsnax review, I'm not sure if I talked about it, but when you're walking on different textures like sand or grass or snow, you can feel it in the controller. And also when you're doing certain movements, like in that game, you use things like there's snack traps to catch the Bugsnax. You pull the trigger, and I'm probably going to show a little video of it right here. But when you pull the trigger, you can feel a little tension, and it vibrates, and the trigger kind of bounces back in your finger. And it didn't used to do that with the DualShock 4. And I'm sure in first-person shooters, which I haven't had a chance to try out yet because I'm not the biggest first-person shooter guy, but I will with time. I'm sure that feeling is even better overall. Like they've mentioned that with different guns, you feel a different type of tension, which is really cool because again, couldn't do that with the DualShock 4, and that just goes to show how far into the future that this controller is. And also on top of that, if you look really closely, you can't see it here, but when you get your hands on one of the controllers, if you look at it, there's little X's, O's, triangles, and squares on the controller, and that's what creates that grippy textured feel to it. The only downside to this thing for me is that, and this is a kind of weird complaint, but the controller gets dirty really fast. Like, I have white controllers. The DualShock 4 controller I have is white, one of them. My Xbox One controllers are white, and they've never gotten like dirty like this before. And that's not me saying I don't wash my hands, because I wash my hands, so don't come for me in the comments, son, okay? But this controller gets dirty pretty easily. So just keep your eyes out for that, but I guess nothing a quick Lysol wipe can't fix. But just wanted to mention that towards the end of this review. All in all though, the PS5 is a powerhouse. It's a complete power move by Sony. The system is great. Like, I'm having a blast with it. It's made to play games. I'm playing games. I'm having a good time. We're all having a good time. For $500, I would say that this is worth its money. It is the next generation. It is the future. It feels like the future. It does have a bit of missing features, excuse me, that I would say are not deal breakers by any means, but it does have some things that could be a little better overall, and the design could be a little better overall. But for the most part, it's a great console, and I do recommend it to anybody that can get their hands on one. We're still in the early cycles of its release, so getting your hands on one is a bit hard right now. But if you are, and when you're able to, jump at it. Anytime it's available, get it ASAP, because this thing is great. And it'll give me more people to play with, because I need more friends that have PS5s. I think I'm the only one right now. But that's the review. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section below. Thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. And let me know what type of videos you guys want me to make in the future, because I do love gaming, and that's the majority of what I make on my channel. But I am down to make more movie reviews or pressing world issues. Whatever it is, I'm down to do it. So just let me know, and I'll consider it without a doubt. But again, do appreciate you guys watching this video as always. And if you did like this vid, go ahead and like, subscribe, and stay tuned to see what type of content I take on next. Later.
Bye.